Today is Halloween, so I'm going to create a toggle switch with a single HTML element, and I'm going to make it Halloween theme. So it's only going to use HTML and CSS, so I can close the JavaScript tab. And the only element that it's going to have is an input of type checkbox. I'm going to add a roll of switch. This is important because checkboxes have checked and unchecked status, but this toggle switch have on and off status. So by adding the roll switch, we're telling the browser to indicate that it's on and off instead of check and uncheck. There are also other differences, like for example, a toggle switch normally has an event associated to it, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment. And let's add a class, let's call it Halloween. Okay, so we have there our checkbox. Right now it still looks like a checkbox. So let's start changing that. So we said is Halloween class. And the first thing is we're going to give it a font size of 1 EM. That way, the checkbox or the switch in particular is going to have a size that matches the text around it. This may not be ideal, but it works for what we want. Next thing I'm going to do is add an appearance of none. That removes the shape of the checkbox and gives me more flexibility on what I can do. So for example, I'm going to add a border of 1px solid for now, so I can see it. I'm going to give it a width of, so let's say 2 EM and a height of 1 EM. And I can see it already, you see, but it's really tiny. Again, because I use font size 1 EM, the size is going to change with the page and the text that goes with it. This is for me for developing. You can remove it later if you want to, but I would recommend you have something like that in place. So if I put a font size of, let's say 12 vmin, that's 12% of the width of the screen. You see, now we can see it larger, which is good. So let's start by adding a small background. Let's say, I don't know, something purplish. Okay, and remove the border. That's good. Actually, we don't want to remove the border. What we want to do is to make it transparent. We do it that way because if somebody is using the high contrast mode, the borders, even if they are transparent, they are color. And then it's easier to identify where the toggle switch starts and where it ends. And that's good for accessibility. So now that we have the transparent border and a background, let's start making a little bit more changes, like let's say a border radius of 2 EM. I just want to have a large number so it makes it rounded, but not an oval. So another thing that I'm going to do, I normally don't do this, but it's going to make it easier for me to find the properties later, is I'm going to arrange them in alphabetical order. This is just me being picky, to be honest. And I mean, you can sort them however you want. And the only thing I have is that the border is not in alphabetical order, right? Yep, the border should go here. Okay, so we have that there. Let's start, for example, by making it a little bit nicer. So we have it like a purple color. Maybe what we can do is a radial gradient that is starting that purple color and goes to something like darker. Yeah, and maybe bluer also. Yeah, and darker also. Let's see, like that. Okay, so we can make it circle at 75%, 25%. Yeah, something like that. You see, so now we have something nice. Maybe let's make it even darker, 206. That may be too dark. And this, I'm going to make it a little bit darker too. I mean, it's a Halloween theme. So now with that, we already, you see, have our base theme. We can add the button like the toggle. So we're going to use the before. So for the before, I need to add here a position relative. So I can position the before pseudo element in an absolute way. So I'm going to say position absolute, top 50% and left 25%. It's going to have a width, translate -50, -50. That way I'm placing it 25%, but then it would start like to the right and to the bottom. What I want is to center within the container. That's why I did the translate -50, -50 with a top of 50. So now what I want to do is add a height. Height, let's say of, if it has a height of 1 EM, let's put 7 EM. Let's see how that works. And let's put a width of the same. And just for, let's see how it goes. A background that is going to be white, just so it's visible. Translate, I did something wrong because this is not working. So it's still displayed here. It's not doing the translate. Did I put it incorrectly? Oh, I'm missing a percentage here. Now that I put the percentage, it goes back. Let's add a border radius of 50%. So it's a circle. And you see now we have our checkbox, but if I click, nothing happens. So what we're going to say is when it's checked, we want the before to go from the from the left 25 to a left 75%. So see now when it's checked, it goes to the right or it goes to the left. What we can do now is we can add a small transition. So transition left 0.3 seconds. So it's going to sweep between right and left in 0.3 seconds. So now it's a little bit animated, which is nice. Okay, so this has a toggle, and we already have a toggle that is working. Yay! The problem is that it looks nice, but I said it was going to be Halloween theme, so let's change it a little. And to do that, let's do another thing here. Let's just do it like that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change this to look like a ghost. So let's make it a little bit narrower. Okay. Then I'm going to change the border radius. So instead of being 50%, the border radius, I put them in alphabetical order so it should be easy to find. Let's put 100% and then 80, 80, 110, 110. That's going to make it look like an oval a little bit. So maybe a 90 here would work better. No. 80 was fine. And maybe here 100. So it's, yeah. I'm going to change it in a little bit anyway. So that's our ghost. It doesn't look like a ghost right now, but don't worry. We will make it look like a ghost in a second. So first of all, let's continue drawing. So instead of having it all white, I'm going to make it go white only until a percentage. And then I'm going to make it so it has like a, it's supposed to be, a bed cover. So it has some wings and, some movement, flap there. And let's do that. So let's start say linear gradient from white, like 80% until transparent. Okay, so we did that. And the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to say, so you're going to have a radial gradient that is going to be further side at 50% 0. And it's going to be FFF 99, something like that. Let's see. So you see we have that. It's just a big one. We don't want that. I want it to be smaller. So I'm going to put 0, 0. And a size of 20%, 100%. Let's see how that looks. And repeat X only. And yes, instead of being that, I'm going to just give it a 20. And I want it at the bottom instead of up there. Let's see, that may be not what I want, but let's make it 25 because this ends in 20 and you see there's a line. So let's put 25 here. Cool. Now it looks okay. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to make this, you know, right now it looks really harsh. So we want it to be like floating, you know, it's cloth. So this is too sharp. We want it to make wavy. To do that, what we can do is add a filter. So I'm going to add here a filter. I'm going to make it blur first. Let's say 0.1 em. And then I'm going to add contrast again. So let's put 20 for now. So this is going to look weird right now, only the blurry thing. But that's because we're blurring into transparent. If we blur into a solid color, the contrast is going to take over and it's going to look a lot nicer. So let's do that. So let's put a fixed color of black as the background. And also what we are going to do is we're going to add a box shadow of black 0, 0, 0, let's say 0.1 em black. And now you see it's a little bit sharper and it has some, you know, like gray background, but ignore it for now. Or, you know, there's like a black thing there. So first thing, it looks like an egg. So the flapping thing that I created, not good enough. So let's do one thing. Let's make them larger, 25. Let's see if we can see them. 33. Oh, wow. Maybe the problem is that this is too high. So let's make it 35. Okay, and oh, maybe the blur is too much. Let's see what happens if I make it a little bit. Aha, look at that. Now we can see like a shape there. What happens if I make it 25? Not perfect, but a little bit better. So maybe instead of 80, let's put 99, let's put 80. And here let's put a 0. And oh yeah. Well, let's see. Let's remove the filter. Let's see how it looks without anything. Okay, that's fine. Let's put the filter back. What do I do? Let's make it larger so I can see it better. Okay, let's make it even larger. Yes, now I can see a lot better. So how do we do it? Let me 30 here. Yeah. And let's. Yeah. Well, so we have a ghost here. It's not perfect, but it's our ghost. And what we're going to do is we don't want this black thing. So what we can do is we can add a mix blend mode. Because we want to keep the white but not the black, what we're going to say is lighten. So it keeps the lighter color. So we're going to add here a mix blend mode of lighten. And you see now we have that thing. We click it and it moves. That's perfect. Let's add like 2 eyes here. Maybe we can make it a little bit taller. 9. Ooh, okay. That's fine. The mix blend mode only works within the parent. That's fine. So what we're going to do is, what happens if I put 99 here? Yeah, then it's not so great. Let's put 90. Okay. So let's put here in the parent, we're going to add an overflow of hidden. So we avoid having the overflow. Cool. That's not bad. So now we're going to do the eyes because we're using the filter. They're not going to be visible unless we make them really big. So we're going to add a radial gradient, black, let's say 0.1 EM, and then transparent. And we are going to put it, what did I do wrong here? 0. Yeah, okay, yeah, it just put a hole in the ghost. That is not what we want. So circle at 25, 25. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so the eye is way too big, so let's make it smaller. Now is too small. Let's make it a little bit larger. Yeah, so maybe 35. Okay, here we have an eye. Good. Let's try to see what happens if we add another eye. If that's 35, the other one would be in 65. Yeah, that's too big. Let's make it again smaller. Let's see how it looks. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, we need to separate them a little bit more. And oh, it's pulling the it's pulling the thing. I don't want that. I'm not going to win this game today, huh? Oh, that works. Yeah, look, that could work as our ghost. Okay, that's the ghost eyes. And let's see what happens when we make it smaller. So let's say 1.25. You mean? Well, that's too small. So let's say 2.5. Yeah, we still can see it. It's just a small toggle. You see, you can barely tell it's a ghost. So let's put it like a regular size right now for coding. We have that here. That's fine. That's already a ghost toggle. What we can do is let's animate it a little bit, right? So let's start by, we already have a transition, but it's a ghost, so it's going to float, right? So let's add a keyframe, float. And what we're going to do is that we're going to say at the beginning, you're going to translate -50, -50%. And at 100%, because this is, if you see, is closer to the top than the bottom, we're going to translate -50%, -40%. Let's see how that looks. And we're going to say the before, animation, float, let's say 3 seconds, infinite. And because the float, the beginning and the end doesn't match, I want to alternate. Otherwise, we get this jump that is ugly. Let's put here 45 maybe. A little bit more than 45, 47. Let's say 47. It's not, sorry, 43. I'm doing it wrong. 43. We want a little bit more. Yeah. That may be still too much. And again, to avoid that jump there, we add an alternate. And now it's going to float up and down. Well, down and up in particular. So that's one thing. Another thing that we can do is like, we can make this wave. So right now it looks like that and it's What we can change is the position of this thing. Okay. So let's put this at the beginning. It doesn't matter the order in this case. So let's put it at the beginning. And we're going to do, I'm going to uncomment, well, it's okay. Let's just put it there. So keyframes wave. So 0%. The background position is going to be 0, 0. That is the default one. That is all the ones they have. And then at 100%, I want it to be, so what's the width of the before? It's 0.5 rem, EM, not rem, right? I put EM, yes, correct. Minus 0.5 EM and 0, that's fine. So if I add the animation here, let's say wave, the order of the animation matters, but I mean, in this case it doesn't, but so let's say wave, 3 seconds, infinite, and in this case I may want it to be linear. Oh wow, that looks weird. Oh yeah, I know why. because yes, this is 0, 100. So it's 0, 100, and I want it to be okay. Okay, so the problem now is that the eyes are moving too. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to set all the other things. This is not ideal, but it's what I'm going to do. No, that's the float, Alvaro, not that one. Here, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, let's try. It's again not ideal, but let's see if that works. Yeah. So now we have a ghost that is floating and it's moving, and it moves from one side to another. So another thing that we have is that you can see that the ghost is like a little bit like curved, but the border is like a circle, like a semicircle. So what we can do is make the border match a little bit the curve of the ghost. So where we had here a border radius of 2 em, we're going to put at 30% and then 100%. And that maybe a little bit more. 40 may be too much. Yeah, 40 is definitely too much. But yeah, so you can, the border radius, you can specify the horizontal value and the vertical value. So I'm making it more horizontal, sorry, more vertical than horizontal. So it matches the shape of the ghost. Also, maybe another thing that I can do is the ghost, I don't like how it's almost touching. What I could do is I'm going to add a little bit height of, let's see what happens if I put a 1. Sorry, no, I want to make it less high because it's touching almost the border and I don't like that. Yeah, let's put here 45, which will force me to put here 45. Yeah, no, you see now the things are too close and that's not good. Okay, let's just leave it at that. No, not necessarily. What we can do is add a little bit here instead. Yeah. Maybe that's too much. Like that. Yeah. So we have a toggle switch with a ghost, and we can change the size to make it, you know, nicer. And let's say, for example, just for, you know, for the demo, let's put 8. That's our toggle switch. And we can go to the right and to the left. But we can still do more. So for example, let's add some things. Like, this is just a simple thing, but what happens if I disable the checkbox for any reason? So if I disable it, there's a problem. And it's like, can you tell that it's disabled? No, unless you click and it's not doing anything. That can create frustration for the user. So what we want to do is we are going to add a disable state. So when the checkbox or our toggle switch is disabled, what we're going to do is we're going to say filter grayscale of 1. So we're going to make it, we're going to gray it out. Maybe we can make it a little bit bright. Let's say 1.2. Oh, that was not much, but okay, 1.5. A little bit better, not much, but anyway, still now it's grayed out. So for example, let's make this a little bit smaller, and let's add 2, one that is disabled and one that is not, so we can see both at the same time. You see the active one is purple and you can click on it. The disabled one is gray and I cannot click on it. So let's start now with another problem. The grayed out is still moving. Do we want it to move? So maybe not. So what we can do is we say, hey, if it's disabled, the before element, say animation none. And now, you see, when it's disabled, it's not clickable and it's static. When it's active, the ghost moves and you can click on it. Let's add another thing. Let's see what else can we do. So let's add a small thing. Well, another thing that we can do is like, I mean, there's not much movement, but maybe if we can say if media, if the user prefers reduced motion, like if they don't like movement, what we can do in this case is there's not much movement, to be honest, but what we can do is we can say we call it Halloween. The before, we're going to remove the transition duration. We're going to make it 0 seconds, so it's automatic. I don't have that set up right now, so it doesn't matter. We cannot see it. But yeah, what it would do now is it would, when I click, it would move automatically to the right side or to the left side. Another thing that we want to do, maybe if there's a prefers reduced motion, maybe what we can do is the animation duration. Instead of making it move so fast, we can say, hey, instead of the 3 seconds that we have used, use 10 seconds. That's an example. So take into account that prefers reduced motion is not remove movement, as I'm doing with the transition from left to right. It's reduce movement. It's reduce motion. So what we're doing is that we're making it move slower. There are animations that are easier for people that that have accessibility issues. I forgot the name. That's why I struggle a little bit. So animations like, for example, a fade in or fade out are not as bad as things like things moving around the screen or this thing waving all the time continuously. So, we just added that. Another thing that we can do, we have the toggle has been complete for a long time. We're just adding extra things, right? So let's add another extra thing. Let's see what happens, and I'm scared of doing it because I'm a little bit scared because I don't know how it's going to react. Let's imagine that, well, let's try, why not? So let's add a hover effect. So right now it's not indicating when you're hovering the toggle switch. So what we can say is like, hey, when we're hovering it, when the mouse is hover, do something. So what are we going to do? So for example, for the before, let's do something like, for example, maybe we can say opacity is 0.9. So now when we mouse over, you see the ghost goes a little bit darker. That's because it's going semi-transparent. But yeah. Ooh, another thing that we can do instead of this, maybe we can add a mask so the ghost starts solid and then it goes fading with the background. Let's see how that looks. So that would be a simple mask. That would be a linear gradient from fully transparent to from fully colored to fully transparent. You see, and maybe instead of this, we can have 75%. Oh, I don't like how that looks though. 50. Not a big fan of the transition. Maybe I can do a radial gradient from at 50%, 25%. Let's see how that looks. That could look a little bit better. So let's say 70%, 75%. Let's make it 100. Yeah, that I like that a little bit better, to be honest, but not much better, but a little bit better. 70. What happens if I make it 90? This thing. Yeah. Well, I don't know. to be honest. This is just a thing that we can play with. It's not necessarily something that we can add, but I like this effect where the ghost is not fully, you know, it fades with the background. I don't like how this looks, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe like that a little bit better. Hopefully it looks okay. I don't know. I'm not sold out on this mask thing. I like the idea of the ghost fading into the background, but I don't like how this looks, so I'm going to comment it out for now. Maybe I will add it later, who knows. But yes, let's add another thing for hover. Yeah, I was talking about hover and then I jump into a different thing. So let's add another thing. So let's say the position of the eyes, eyes 0%. Okay, 0%. So let's do here calc plus bar eyes. Okay. And what did I do? Oh, I'm missing a parenthesis. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to change the 33 for 67. Okay. Maybe this can be a 63. Let's make it just smaller. Yeah, I like more the circle eyes. Okay. So now, let's say when it's hover, the value of the eyes is going to be 5%. That may be too much. It's blending with the background. 3. It blends. Why? Maybe I can make them closer now that I made them smaller. Oh, that doesn't work that great. This is me playing around, to be honest. Okay, that doesn't look that terrible. What happens if I put a 5 again? Anyway, yeah, so it's not ideal, but it's better than nothing. And what I can do now is that you see it's jumping directly. That's because I'm trying to animate a background. That doesn't work great, but there's a trick for that. That is using the add property. So I can say the eyes, you know, I'm going to say the syntax is going to be a percentage. The value is going to inherit, true, because I'm using it at the element, but I'm setting it at the element, but I'm using it at the child, so I want it to inherit the value. And the initial value is going to be 0%. Anyway, we set it here. So now I'm going to mouse over and you're going to see how the eyes, instead of just jumping around, they're going to slightly move. But well, it's not going to happen yet because I need to add a transition. So I need to say transition. The same way that I would transition any other property, I can transition the eyes in 0.4 seconds. Let's see. See, now they move little by little. Not ideal, but better than nothing. So when I mouse out over, oh, there's a problem. When I mouse over, it's looking to the right. I want it to look to the left. So what I can say is when it's checked and it's hover, let's say the eyes minus 5%. So see, when I'm on the right, sorry, when it's on the left, it looks to the right. And when it's on the right, it looks to the left. This is just a small thing. It's not much. Another thing that I can do is add a mouth to the ghost. And let's see if I can do that without breaking everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many have I here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. Okay, yeah, so I added an extra 0, 0, which is perfect because now I'm going to say radial gradient circle at 50%, 50%. And I'm just going to put a mouth. Let's see if that works. Whoa, that's a big mouth. Oh, yeah, I need to put a 0 here. Otherwise, nothing is going to work. Now that's going to be a small mouth. So small that nobody can see it. So now it has... whoa, that's way too big. I go from really small to way too big. Really fast. So let's make it 0.8. And let's put it a little bit higher. Let's say 40. Yeah, I don't want it to blend with that thing, so let's put 7 here. Let's adjust it a little bit. 5. Let's put it lower. Yeah, and what I can do is here add a calc. I said eyes, and now it's a really bad thing that I call it eyes, because it's not only the eyes, it's also the mouth that moves. Let's see. So let's see if I can move it a little bit higher without affecting the eyes. I don't want to affect the eyes, is the thing. Okay, that's it. Yeah, so that's our ghost checkbox. It's again, it's not ideal, but it's a little Halloween treat. Now what we can do, I like the idea, but it doesn't look that great. Maybe like that. Okay, so we have a toggle button. Oh, look. So because I added the transition to the element itself instead of the before, it moves when it's disabled, and I don't want that. So I'm going to put here this. And yeah, oh no, it still moves. Interesting. Why? Oh, I put in the reduce motion. Sorry, my bad. So yeah, I want here to be transition none. Transition. Wait, no. So on. No, when it's disabled, the eyes are 0% all the time. When it's disabled. Yeah, that's it. That was the trick. Okay. Here I'm trying to figure out things. But yeah, that's it. That's a toggle button. Like we can make it looks nicer, like the background, maybe background, linear gradient to bottom left. And we're going to make it from, let's make this color darker. Yeah, but we don't want to do it like that. What we want to do is oh, that's, anyway, it's too bright. Yeah, something like that. That may be too much, actually. Yeah, not ideal, but something. Now what we can do to improve it a little bit more is, like right now the button looks a little bit flat. We can give it maybe a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit of 3D effect, and we can do it by adding box shadows to the element itself. So let's do that. Let's add a box shadow that is let's say 0, 1 pixel and white. Sorry, inset, my bad. It's an inset box shadow from the top, and we want it to be a little bit blurry. That's 1 pixel. Okay, and it's not going to be like that completely, so let's do it like that. Yeah, and we're going to add something similar from the bottom, but this time instead of being white, it's going to be black. So let's make it black. And normally black colors, they require a little bit less to be seen. So just like that. Okay, so now we change this to a regular font size. Let's say, let's just put 64 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so that's our toggle button. Let's put this here, 8.8. I want it to have a little bit more contrast. Yeah, so you see, we can click on it, click, and we can use this as a toggle switch. Thank you for watching.